Welcome to the Two Men Wine School. I'm Ben.
And I'm Dan.
You could argue that finding the right wine for the right occasion is as important as matching the right wine with the right dish.
Wine is a great social lubricant, and who doesn't like sharing a bottle or three with your mates? But how do you know what to choose? You know, a very wise woman in wine once told me, and she was a tad posh, she said, "Daniel, my darling, wine is either a chat, conversation, lecture or sermon." Initially I thought she was a tad eccentric, but when I thought about it, it all made perfect sense. Let's start with the chat. You're going over to your mate's place for a catch-up. You haven't seen each other for a while, you're sharing a bottle of wine. What is it? Frankly, who knows, who cares? It's not about the wine, it's about the chat. So in this case, think lighter styles of wine, either white or red, cheap and cheerful. What about for the conversation, Ben?
The classic scenario for this one is probably a barbecue. When you go to a barbecue, there are sometimes people that you don't know, and striking up conversation can be a little awkward and, let's face it, if they're boring, you quickly run out of things to say. As we said before, wine is a fabulous social lubricant, and if you take a bottle with a bit of a story that's meaningful to you, there's your conversation.
And now for the lecture.
Here we're talking about a dinner party. You've been invited to your friend's place for dinner, and they've been slaving away in the kitchen all day and spent good time and money to create a wonderful meal for you, of course inspired by their favourite celebrity chef.
Since they've gone to all this effort, then you should too. Spend a little more than you normally would.
But to make it easier, ask them beforehand what they're cooking and base your decision on whether the meal will be light, medium or full. Lighter flavoured food goes best with lighter flavoured wine. Easy.
You know, Dan, these people look like they're having a good time, but there's something wrong with this situation.
Not having any quality filtered water?
That's it.
Sermon is in the realm of your favourite wine wankers. Here it's all about the wine and goes so far that there's a theme, like discussing the nuances of the 2010 white Burgundy vintage, comparing the different villages and quality levels, intricacies of the development of this producer over that producer. Here you're basically told what you have to bring, and will normally be rather expensive and posh, as you'll be surrounded by like-minded wine nerds talking nerdy wine stuff.
Ooh, that sounds pretty boring, Dan. But what you're saying is if you're going to catch up with a mate, the chat scenario, go cheap and cheerful and a lighter style of wine will do. If you're in the conversation realm and it's going to a barbecue, match your wine to the theme of the food and probably choose a medium-bodied wine, maybe something a little different and with a story. If it's the lecture and it's a dinner party, cough up some cash and choose something decent and make sure your wine will match the meal. And then, of course, finally, if you're hanging out with the wine wankers and it's the sermon scenario, then it's time to spend some real coin on a bottle of wine.
Yep, it's all about matching the right wine with the right occasion. In fact, matching the right wine with the right scenario is possibly more important than matching it with the right dish. Just remember, chat, conversation, lecture and sermon and you'll be fine.
Well, I think that's it for the Two Men Wine lesson today.
We'll see you next time.